Well, welcome in once again, everybody, to another, it's going to be a great edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and hoping that you got a chance to get out and play some golf. The weather's good in your part of the country. I know here in Southern Nevada, here in Las Vegas, it's getting really good because it's getting hot, man. I'm playing on Sunday. It's going to be 85. And the following week looks like some good temperatures. So I think we might be, hopefully, over the weather roller coaster that we've been having for the last couple of months, with the rain and the wind and the snow and, the whole deal. So we have gone, I think we're going to miss spring and go right from winter to summer, which is good with me because, as you know, most of you know, I'm a hot weather guy. Anyway, I hope you had a good time watching this year's edition of the Masters Tournament. Congratulations to Jon Rahm. He just played phenomenal on Sunday, did what he had to do, roll the ball beautifully. And a lot of people came back at the end and played very, very well, won themselves a pile full of money. And I think, though, that CBS missed the boat on a couple of big stories that were not mentioned at all on Sunday. The first, of course, being Tiger Woods, who dropped out after the third round. Fortunately, because, he was hurting. Such a noticeable limp. He was in pain. I read where, he had one of the screws in his ankle come through his skin. And that obviously can't feel good. But personally, I never thought he should have played. But that's just my opinion. And the other story I think they missed the boat on, unfortunately, due to some real politics going on between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, obviously, was with Phil Mickelson. Coming in second place, played absolutely beautiful, shoot 65 on Sunday. And they kind of ignored it. Phil, he loves to talk. He normally would have been in the booth doing a little bit of announcing. He would have done 100 interviews and stuff, but that was all ignored. But again, taking nothing away from Jon Rahm and all of the other players that played very well. Congratulations. Just so happens that 3 out of the 5 top players at the Masters happen to be LIV players. So for those people that say, oh, they're on the second team, they're done, they're washed up, that's why they went over there. And I kept saying hardly. Okay, they're all world-class players. Anyway, we've got a wonderful show for you today. We got a young lady on that top instructor for a long time, and I think you're going to learn a lot from what she has to say. I know I'm going to learn a lot from what she has to say. So let me tell you about our special guest, Kelly Stenzel. Kelly is a PGA master professional as well as a member of the LPGA. Kelly has been voted by Golf Magazine a top 100 teacher, Golf Digest 50 best women teachers in America, voted as one of the top teachers in Florida where she lives, and also LPGA top 50 best teachers. Kelly is a former tour player, having played on multitudinous tours around the world. She's played on more tours around the world than I think the Rolling Stones have done concerts. Kelly has authored, I believe, 3 books and is a contributing editor for Golf Magazine and Golf.com. She's also been a guest instructor at some really very well known clubs both in and out of the country, and we'll talk to her a little bit about that. So right now, let's bring Kelly up and welcome her onto the show. And thanks for taking time out, Kelly. I know that you're busy teaching, and really glad to have you on the show.
Hey, Dennis, really excited to talk some golf with you and glad to catch up here today.
Me too. Let me ask you this, kick it off, Kelly. What do you think, Kelly, is the most important attribute for a top instructor like yourself to have?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. And I'm very lucky because I get to spend my days with a lot of really fun, great people. But I think what makes a great teacher is the ability to diagnose the cause of the problem, to know like what's the most important fundamental that may be being violated that's causing all the other problems. Because if I can figure out what's the number one thing that might be causing two or three other problems, then I only have to fix that one. And I also think, besides being able to diagnose and make the ball flight better really, really quickly, it's being able to communicate it in a method that's understandable. And
Right.
sometimes I'll apologize because I think I'm like almost like a little bit too simple, but I don't talk a lot of fancy golf talk. But I am really happy to say that my students do get a lot better, but it's typically something like pretty simple, and I try to make it really understandable. And I think you see that with good teachers. They make
Yeah.
it really simple, then the student gets better really, really quickly. That ball flight should be able to improve within 5 minutes. Otherwise, I think the teacher's missing the boat or needs to
Yeah.
try something else.
Yeah, no, I am so happy to hear. I break instructors down basically in two categories. You have some very technical instructors, which is all well and good if you can handle that, and you have instructors like yourself that go by the KISS rule, and that's what I like because I'm not that smart. Keep it simple, stupid, and
Right.
I think that in the long run, that works a lot better. What is the percentage of students that you have, men versus women, Kelly?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a really good question. I'm pretty 50-50, but there's definitely like it's almost kind of like a funny order that happens to me when I'm new at a club, whether I'm teaching there or a guest instructor. So somebody might ask me, "Are you the women's pro?" Which I'll take all the women. So my answer is always yes, I'm the women's pro. So then the women start getting a lot better, and then like their husbands or their significant other, they'll do what's called, I call it a flyby. Well, they're going to drop into my lesson for just a few minutes, and then they see that yes, I can actually fix them too pretty quickly because they're only going to give me 5 minutes. That's all I need. And then eventually my schedule settles into pretty 50-50 men and women. But it's funny. I'm very happy to be known as the women's pro getting started because there's a lot of women that play golf.
There's a lot of women that play golf, and I think that makes up, what, 22, 23% of all the golfers in the world. It's a big, big market. That brings me into my next question, actually, a two-part. Why do you think there is a stigma from men about taking golf instruction from a woman, number one? And the second part of that is I believe there's a widespread belief or fallacy in this case that, gee, if I start taking golf lessons, I'm going to really have my game screwed up for a number of months, and I don't want to go through that. What do you say?
Well, I'm not sure there is so much a stigma anymore. There just aren't a ton of women teachers, like percentage wise, like in the PGA of America. I think we're like, it's like 2.7%. So there just aren't a lot of female teachers. And I think honestly, like most of the good female teachers are so busy. We're so busy. We're almost a little bit hard to get to. Just a bit of a supply and demand thing.
Yeah.
And like like I said, I teach a fair amount of men, and by the time they're getting to me, either number one, they know I can teach, or number two, they're so desperate that they've run through all the other teachers that they're going to listen at some point. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
Well, the other one was, I talked about a stigma of men not wanting to take from a woman. I'm not going to take golf lessons from a chick. You know what I mean? And what can she give me? I think that's
Right.
totally ridiculous.
Oh, I remember the other question. The myth that you're going to get worse
From
before you
taking
get
lessons, you're
better.
going to get worse before you get better. Right.
Listen, there are different lessons. Like if I've got somebody that comes to me that says, "Hey, I'm playing in a tournament in a week," and let's say they've got two wrongs that make a right. Let's say their grip is weak, so they slice it, and then they come over the top of it to try to at least get the ball back in play. If they're playing in a tournament, I might just make like a little minor adjustment. But I can make the ball flight better within 2 minutes. I mean, if I've got a
Wow.
slicer and I fix the club face, which is usually just a subtle little grip change, the slice is going to be gone. Now, that doesn't mean that they might not hit it left because
Sure.
the other compensator that they've developed is going to still be in there, and eventually they're going to have to go back and fix that.
Right.
But the good news is, like, the right reaction would be how you would. So if you face was open and you come over the top of it, you typically slice it. Well, as soon as that face is square and you come over the top of it, you're going to pull the heck out of it. it's going to feel really good. Like people usually get pretty psyched. And then the good news is the natural reaction is not coming over the top of it because that compensator isn't necessary anymore. So like, no, if you're with the right teacher, your ball flight you should see an improvement in 5 minutes. Now that doesn't mean you don't need coaching and fine tuning,
Right.
but with a good teacher, you should be better right away. No
Yeah, no,
question.
no, I absolutely agree with you. What, Kelly, going back, I know you're from Geneva, New York originally, I think.
Yep.
What got you interested in golf, and did you ever think you were going to play it professionally?
Both my parents played. My dad played a summer on the PGA Tour when you could travel and Monday qualify. My mom was a good amateur, and my grandfather was also a club professional at a small course called Churchville Country Club, and in upstate New York. And I grew up in Western New York where it was freezing cold and there was lots of snow. So I
Yeah.
played all sports. Like did gymnastics for a while. I skied a little bit. I played volleyball. I played a lot of different sports, but I just kind of always liked golf better. I played a ton of golf with my parents, played a lot of golf with my
Uh-huh.
dad. And then I went to Furman. And when I went to Furman, I was an okay golfer, but I just got a lot better. I played with some really good players. I played with Dottie Pepper.
Ah,
I played with Kathy Hartwood, and we had a really great coach in Mick Potter, who's I think now in the Hall of Fame at Furman. So I just worked hard. Even though I wasn't the best golfer, I could always kind of outwork everybody.
hmm.
So I got a lot better while I was at Furman. And I chose Furman because of the schools that I looked at, besides being really great golf team, it was incredibly academic. So I had to work really hard there. And my thought was I'd get out of college and get into the business world. But I got quite a bit better while I was at Furman. So I decided to try to give it a run. And like you said, I
Sure.
played every foreign tour known to women, which was really fun. We had a great time, probably a little bit too much fun at times for trying to play professional golf, but no regrets. And, I look back and, I played well at times, but just wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah, no, it's not easy at all. What was your major at Furman, Kelly?
I was a business major, which is what I thought I'd do.
Yeah.
So, which I'm using a little bit now as a consultant to 8 a.m. golf. But, it's I always pictured myself leaving Furman and going into the business world. I just fortunately got quite a bit better while I was there at golf.
Yeah, that it's good timing because it brings me to my next question. Obviously, you've had a hell of a lot of experience playing competitive golf on all of these tournaments, all these tours before turning to teaching. In your opinion, can someone become a top teacher without having prior experience playing competitively?
I think they can. Absolutely. I think it helps. I think you can relate a little bit more to maybe some of the challenges. It's nice to be able to talk about a shot and be able to hit it and provide some credibility. But no, there are plenty of good teachers that really haven't played. I do think it helps. I think like taking your players from the range to the golf course and having to deal with the stress of competitive golf and all that goes into that in preparation. But no, I think either way you can be a great teacher. You're just gonna want to put some time in and spend some time around other great teachers.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. And you're right. There are a number of really good teachers that have not played competitively, and like you say, I think it helps if you do because you can relate to certain kind of shots. Are you a believer? Because it's interesting when I talk to top instructors like yourself. Some really are down with playing lessons. Others not so much. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I love to give playing lessons because you can learn the skills on the range and on the practice area and the short game area, but it's like a whole nother beast when you get on that golf course. And even something as simple as like choosing your golf club. Like, how many golfers out there don't actually know how far their clubs go? I
Right.
mean, I have students that are walking around with a gap wedge in their bag and they don't ever hit it. They're like, I don't even know what it is. So yeah, I mean, in like shot selection, I mean, I'm very picky about managing risk on short game, and I'm always putt whenever you can putt, chip when you can't putt, and pitch only when you have to. But if you're not out on the golf course and you don't apply that, like let them try pitching and watch them skull it over the green, and then you can come back and say, well, if you had made a better choice and chosen the more effective bump and run or chip, they can learn from their mistakes. So I love being out on the golf course. It's
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
Yeah.
application. And then it makes the range time just makes so much more sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. When you were playing competitively, what would you say was the strongest part of your game, Kelly? And when that part of your game started going south, what did you do to keep it together to get it into the clubhouse?
That's a really good question. My strength was always like my irons and my short game and my putting because I didn't really drive it very far. So I always had to I had to play smart, and I had to kind of really rely on short game because I just really never hit my driver far enough. So I always did a little bit better when I played shorter courses. So thus I never qualified for a U.S. Open because I just didn't drive it long enough. And like obviously you'd get on the golf course and you'd have those days where you just were off.
Yeah,
And on days that were off, I would just try to hit clubs that I was more comfortable with. So I might be putting like a 3 wood or a 5 wood away and just using a 7 wood,
all right.
or aiming for the middle of the green, or not going over hazards. I remember playing a course in New Jersey and it had these like brutal bunkers. And I decided if I had to hit more than like a 5 iron in, I was going to lay up because my bunker game was struggling probably. So I just think it's kind of recognizing when things are off and just being that much more kind of careful with your
Yeah.
choices, because there's nothing wrong with a bogey.
No,
Many a good round has had quite a few bogeys, but you start putting in doubles and triples and they add up pretty quickly.
they add up very quickly. Good point. All right, Kelly, stay with us. We're going to step away. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll have a lot more with our special guest, Kelly Stenzel. Be right back.
Hello, everybody. It's Alan again with FloridaGolfLife.com. First of all, I want to say thanks to all our subscribers today for joining us, and I just want to say thank you for that. Actually, what I want to talk about is I get a lot of people talking about my drills and what I'm actually doing when I do trick shots and how it benefits the average golfer. Well, I'm going to show a drill that I actually do, which is actually hitting off my knees, which actually really helps the average golfer because it helps with foundation and it helps you actually staying stable. So a lot of actually golfers will come here and they'll hold back on their right side and they'll follow through and they'll catch the ball on their right side and they won't get through the ball to their left. So what this drill does for me on my knees, it helps me stay stable with impact and has my hands come through the ball, which I really, really like. So that's why we call this tricks of the trade. So tricks of the trade is really awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a quick video, and I'm going to do a little demonstration of being on my knees, which actually helps me get back to square, and I come right through. Right down the middle. So what that does is it actually gets me back to square. Gary Player was known for walking through the ball to the left side. So what that drill helps me do, it just helps me come right back to square and impact, and I don't fall back on my right side. So tricks of the trade, please join us at FloridaGolfLife.com, and we'd love to see you there. God bless.
The revolutionary Power to Golf Club requires no swing to hit golf shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing. It's empowering golfers with physical issues to continue enjoying time golfing with friends and family. With just the push of a button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Visit online, powergolfclub.com. All right, we are back, everybody, with a continuation of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, having a great conversation with our special guest today, great instructor, Kelly Stenzel. Kelly, how many people mistakenly call you Kelly Stenzel? You know, like the thing you draw on? Does that happen to you?
Oh, you know what? It doesn't bother me. My first name's Kelli. That's misspelled all the time. No, it doesn't even faze me. I don't really care.
Okay. All right. So I would, yeah, I would, because it's easy to make that. It's easy to make that thing. Uh, do you find that when you have new students coming to you and you ask them about their game and what part of their game they need help with and all that stuff, that some people have a tendency to overrate their ability? You'll say, "Hey, John, how far do you hit a 7-iron?" "Oh, I'm probably 160 yards," and they, barely get it out there 130 yards. What do you do in that case? Because it's got to be hurting their game if they think like that.
Yeah, it's actually something that I'm working on. So I've realized that even within my own family, because my husband has no idea how far he hits his golf clubs, and I don't really want to tell him what club he should hit. So I'm actually working on a project where once I know a student's 7-iron, how far that goes, I can send them a distance tag that tells them pretty much how far their clubs go. And I've done that for 14 different distance profiles, including short game as well. Because I just think there's so many golfers out there that just don't really know how far
Right.
their ball goes. And like, if I've got a student, let's say I don't want to kind of burst their bubble, and they think that they hit their, sand wedge 150 yards and they don't. If I'm on the golf course, I'll just tell them a longer yardage. I know the caddies probably do that and it's a little bit tricky, but at some point I write it down. I can't tell you how many scorecards have these yardages that I'm talking about that I'm planning on doing, because if you don't know how far your clubs go and you're always coming up short, it's just kind of frustrating. And you know what?
Very.
You might as well deal with the reality of it. But I will sometimes like kind of trick people and say, "Oh yeah, it's really playing 140. That's a lot of wind," just to try to get them to hit enough clubs.
Yeah, enough club. Yeah, you're right. It's very, very exasperating to keep coming up short of the green and chipping. What, Kelly, as far as the amateur player goes, what area of the game do you feel would improve their game the fastest?
Oh gee. You know what? I just think it's fun to hit the ball well. So, like, to improve their score, obviously the answer would be short game. But most golfers are out there playing for fun and just want to hit really good shots. So, really
Yeah.
good shots just are all about a good setup. It's a good grip so the face is square, and it's a good posture so the golf ball gets in the way. I was just down at Ocean Reef doing some golf schools with a fellow professional, Stephanie Shaw. We ran 4 days of ladies golf schools, and we're just super picky on their scripts and their setups. Once those are really good, like, the golf ball just starts to get in the way and golf just gets fun. So I think just kind of being really picky on that their technique and their fundamentals are good in their setups. If the setup is good, good things will happen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You've been asked to go to some really, really good golf courses as a guest instructor. You just mentioned. Does Hamilton Farms still have those little rooms by the golf course there where you could stay?
They do. Yeah, Hamilton Farms is beautiful. And
Awesome.
that New Jersey is really nice. I'm actually heading up to Fiddler's Elbow with Mike Adams at the end of May to do some corporate events up there. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been really lucky. We were actually in Hawaii before Christmas, so that was at Hawaii with Brady Riggs, who's also a top 100 teacher. So that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I have some good friends that are members at Fiddler's Elbow, and Brady Riggs, a good friend of mine. He's a really good guy,
Yep.
really, really, really good instructor. In your years of teaching, first of all, let me ask you, what kind of swing philosophy do you personally have when you were learning golf?
Swing philosophy?
Yeah.
When I was learning or when I'm teaching?
Well, no, when you're out playing golf, what would you say is your swing philosophy? You got a one-plane swing, a two-plane swing, tilt and
Oh,
stack, or whatever.
well, when I teach, I can teach them all because I've spent a lot of time with a lot of different teachers. So I don't teach a method. I was trained with Mike Adams, which started out with the laws of golf, which is body typing, leverage, arc, and width. But now it's like bioswing dynamics, where everything is fully customized. So no, I really don't teach any particular swing model, but I know I can make the ball flight a lot better by either fixing the face or the path. And then you've also got to deal with like flexibilities or lack thereof with bodies and different strengths and weaknesses. So for my own golf game, like my setup's pretty good. I have a bad tendency to want to kind of reroute the downswing. So I make sure every practice swing that I take when I play, which has been for about a good year now that I've been doing the same, kind of drop my back foot back and make sure my path gets a little more into out right before I go to the ball. But as far as teaching, I teach every model out there because I may have somebody that comes to me that wants to work on stack and tilt, and I'm pretty versed and able to do that. But most of my trainings come from Mike Adams, which is body typing, and everybody's completely different grips, different setting of the club, different delivery patterns of the body. So yeah, I'm kind of I say jack of all trades, hopefully a master of at least a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. All right, let's theoretically, I come to you. I've never played a round of golf in my life. I want you to teach me the game. So you're talking about what it's involving and this and that and the other, and you put you put a wedge in my hand, and you're showing me, obviously grip, stance, posture, very, very important. How are you going to get me off? What are you going to try to impress upon me or teach me as far as a particular swing philosophy, for lack of a better term?
Well, I give a lot of beginner lessons, and I love beginner lessons. I had one today. I had a very athletic woman, and she was really tall, and she had never played golf before. So, and I give a lot of first lessons. I love them. So I always start with explaining kind of what the clubs do so they don't feel like there's just like these 14 weird things in a bag. I like to start with a shorter club, like a wedge is fine. I'll show them grip and posture. But what I do with it's a little bit different than other teachers. I like to get the student set up perfectly, and then I bring the ball to them. So their setup is perfect. I come over with a ball and a tee, and I put the ball and the tee right down behind their club, and I tell them to just swing.
Wow.
And because their setup is so perfect, then they will hit the golf ball. It will go into the air. And as soon as they get that feeling of like center face contact, ball flying, they are a little bit hooked, because we all know as being golfers, like those good shots, they feel really good and they're really fun.
Oh yeah.
I'll kind of stick with that for like 10 or 15 balls. And then eventually I show them, okay, like I've been getting you set up perfectly, bringing the ball to you. Now I'm going to show you a setup routine, something along the lines of set the club, bow to set the hands, and then step your feet until you feel like your arms are hanging. But I make sure that they're making really good, solid contact and getting the sense of like, what does it really feel like to hit a great golf shot?
Sure. No, that's interesting. You teach all levels of players, like you said, from beginners to elite players. Is your message any different teaching a guy who's a 15 handicap as opposed to a scratch player? The way you deliver the message?
Yeah, I mean, the communication's completely different. And usually when I teach, like I said, I'm teaching in English and not in a lot of golf terms. But if I've got a pretty seasoned golfer, I can maybe skip some of the kind of the terms that I'm trying not to be a golf professional and just trying to be like, let's communicate in English. But obviously you got a better player and they're going to understand club face and swing path and release and all that. But yeah, so absolutely, the way I communicate it can be very different.
I think, and you might not agree with me, I hope you will though, but I think basically, Kelly, the golf swing as a whole is pretty damn simple. And people, amateurs, make it way more complicated than it needs to be by doing different swing philosophies or this and that and the other. Do you agree with me that it's much simpler than most people make it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my super simple version. Have a good grip, get into a good posture. When you swing your arms back, keep your lead underarm close to your chest. If you keep your lead underarm close to your chest, it's going to keep the face really stable and it's going to make you turn back, which we do want some rotation. And then hit the ground and hold your finish. I mean, it can be like that lead arm close to the chest does a lot of really good things. And I think what can complicate golf is I want the ball to go straight, and every motion that I make is circular, which is super counterintuitive. I have to slam the club into the ground to make the ball go into the air. Most golfers, women in particular, don't like that. But yeah, you can make it really simple. And, if your setup's good, like I said, tons of good things are going to happen.
Yeah. So you're a person who believes in connection.
Yes, but not such connection that it's locked. I like to see it, brushing across the chest, but swinging very freely. There should be independent arm swing. It's not a locked connection.
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, last question before we take our next break, Kelly. Do you think the American players on the LPGA Tour will ever dominate again? Because I sure as hell don't think so.
It's tough. It's so tough. I remember when I played the Asian Tour, and the year I played the Asian Tour, I played really quite well. And this was, gosh, in the 90s. And the Korean Women's Golf Association paid for me to come back and play in the Korean Open because they were trying to have better competition for their players. So you could see that was kind of like the beginning of the country really getting behind Korean women's golf.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, the golf associations in Asia are really behind it. They put a lot of money and time into it. And these young ladies and women, they're so driven. It's all they do. I'm not sure it's healthy. It's not what I would choose for myself or a friend, but it's going to be pretty tough. But it is, like I love the Cordes sisters. It's so fun to see, them doing so well. They're just amazing in their golf. But it's tough because there's a lot of time, effort, and money being put behind a lot of Asian women's golf associations.
Yeah, very true. I just personally don't, not that they don't play well, they play great. I'd love to have some of their games, but I just don't think they have the same fire in the belly. They're not driven as much. And so, it's going to be interesting. Anyway, Kelly, stay with us. We're going to take another short break, and we come back. We will finish up with PGA Master Instructor Kelly Stenzel. Be right back. One of the perks about being in golf media is that I get to try every club ever made. Of course, like most things, some are better than others. I'm here to tell you that I have found unquestionably the absolute best performing set of irons I have ever played, and my scores show it. Let me introduce you to Grindworks, custom fitted irons that are made to fit your game. Grindworks offers players 3 different styles of irons. You can choose muscle back irons, cavity back irons, and even blades, along with some awesome wedges. And when you purchase your clubs, Grindworks lets you choose the type of shaft you want, the type grip you prefer, and even will adjust the loft and lie of your clubs if needed. That's unheard of. So what are you waiting for? Feel the power and experience and performance of these amazing clubs. Simply go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046 to order. Trust me, your handicap will love you for it.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Continuing our show here on the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. Kelly, what made you get into, I believe you wrote 3 books or have 3 books. What made you interested in becoming an authoress?
It's funny. It wasn't the original goal. The original goal, I just started writing things down. And I just kept writing and writing. And then I looked at all I had written and I said, if this was going to be a book, what's missing? So then I did that. And I'll try to make kind of a long story short. I was really fortunate enough, but very young. I had a student who knew a publisher,
Uh-huh.
so I took the bus into New York City, and I think I changed into in the bathroom at Burger King, and I sat down with this kind of mogul playing golf. And he said to me, he's like, "Why should I publish your book?" And I explained to him why women were different and that they deserved their own book. And within about 5 minutes, he said, "Yes, we'll publish your book." And I sat there struggling to just not completely freak out and jump up and down. But since then, the beginner book, which was published quite a long time ago, still continues to sell. I'd love to do it again. It needs some updating. But the other two books just kind of came after that, and I said, "Listen, I don't have any much more to say," so I kind of stopped writing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of changed now. I'd love to redo the beginner book because I do think like the women's market, which was just kind of my niche, is a little bit underserved. So it's just, I don't know, the idea of like helping somebody that I never met, like I'll
Right.
get letters from people like once in a while, like
Yeah.
even men, like you helped my golf game. And like the idea that I could help somebody that I never met in person, it just makes me really happy.
That's awesome. Tell our viewers where they could find the books, Kelly.
Probably the easiest place is Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If you have a publisher out there, I'd love to redo the beginner book again. It's really due. But any of the kind of online retailers is probably the easiest place to find them. Just don't
Okay.
laugh at some of the clothing in my first
Hey,
book.
would you be kind enough to send me one and an inscribed edition of one so I could add it to my golf library?
I'd be happy to.
I'll send you my
Absolutely.
address. That would be absolutely awesome. What do you think about the thing going on with the USGA and the RNA about rolling back the golf ball for these tour players?
Well, I think you can have two sets of rules. I mean, I would kind of equate it to the putter anchoring, when they didn't allow that anymore. For all the golfers, like regular everyday golfers who anchoring a putter allowed them to putt again and not feel like they had like a shake or some type of difficulty, it made a ton of sense. But the country club golfer, they don't need to hit the ball shorter. I don't want to hit the ball shorter. But obviously these tour players, they're different. They just kind of kill the ball. So
Yeah.
I could see having two different sets of rules, but I would never want to apply it to like the recreational golfer. It would just be too frustrating because it's hard for them to build these golf courses long enough. It was Tiger building like an 8,000 yard
Yeah.
golf course.
Yep.
Like that just gets expensive with real estate. And,
Yeah.
I would be okay with it, but not for me and not for my students.
Right. It's funny because you read a lot about a lot of tour players are against it. They say we've trained all of our lives to hit the ball far. The ball manufacturers are against it because it's going to be costly. I don't know. People like to go out and just watch these guys kill the ball. And, it's kind of a Walter Mitty thing. And I don't know. I don't think it would hurt them that much personally. But I think probably it's going to happen, and I think it would be a shame. Your thoughts about the Live tournament, the Live tour? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting. At first, I was a little adverse to it, but the more players that have gone
Uh-huh.
and transitioned over to it, I mean, I think it goes back to, is it a sport or is it a business? Because if it's a business, then that was probably a pretty darn good decision for a lot of them. Time, making a lot of money.
Yep.
If it's a sport, maybe it's a different answer. And I would kind of say that same thing with Michelle Wie when she took the money from Nike. If it's a sport, that might not have been her best decision. But if it's a business, it was pretty smart. So I think it just depends on the motivator. And there's just so many great players that have gone over. I thought the Masters was fun to see the players come back together.
Yep.
And play side-by-side competition. I think time will tell, and I think the Live Tour has made the PGA Tour have to make some improvements that maybe they needed to make a while ago. So
No doubt. Yeah.
it's still golf and it's still fun. I thought the Masters was amazing. I thought John Rahm was just a class act.
Absolutely. He's got a second major, and I think there's going to be much more in his future. But yeah, I find, Kelly, if you're a traditionalist as far as playing golf, you don't like Live because, there's music and screaming and they get to play play in shorts and all of that kind of stuff. But still, the pedal is to the metal because these guys are playing for a lot of dough. They still want to win. They still want to be competitive, and I think this is going to be a watershed year for them. However, and it's like you say, it's interesting to see what what the PGA Tour is doing to to kind of offset that. So what's in the future for you before I let you go? If somebody wants to get a hold of you and come out and take a lesson or 2 or 3, how do they find you? And secondly, if a media guy like me came out and wanted a lesson from you, what the hell would you charge me?
Oh, you? Nothing.
Oh, all right. Book me next Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're on the house for sure. But definitely the easiest place to find me is through my website, which is Kelly, Kellie, KellyStenzelGolf.com. And I'm excited. We've got about a month and a half down here in Florida before the season to kind of slow down. And I've got a high school reunion in Geneva in early July. We'll spend a little bit of time in New York. But I'm heading back out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming to teach at Shooting Star for the last couple of weeks in July. And that is like my happy place. The members are great. The club is great. We stay with a couple of nice families while we're out there. So it feels kind of like old home. And I take my son with me. So we play a ton of golf and I teach, but it's work, but it doesn't feel like work because it's just like the greatest place on earth.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a nice way to change it up. That's very, very nice. Your son has been playing for how long now?
Oh gosh, he's been playing. He plays a lot of sports. We're not like the crazy parents that have chosen one sport and make him play every day. So he plays baseball, he plays golf, he plays tennis. He's been playing golf probably since he was 3, but he started to take to it a little bit more. Started to take it a little more seriously, and but he still plays baseball and he still plays tennis and he still like to fish. So, kind of a little bit of everything. But I'm working hard on my game. He only outdrives me by about 50 or 60 yards now, but he still can't quite beat me yet. But I think that's coming pretty soon because he's been working harder, and we all know hard work does pay off.
It does. Last question: would you, in the long run, rather have superb swing mechanics or a really, really good mental game? What do you think would bode better for you?
Oh, I think you've got to have good mechanics.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have good mechanics, you could be like the smartest mental person, and it's still going to break down. But I also think like when you have good mechanics, it's much easier to be confident and develop better mental skills. But bad technique under pressure does not work.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I totally, 100%, totally agree with you. Anyway, Kelly, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. You've been absolutely delightful, very informative, and we wish you well in your journeys here and there, and we will definitely be in touch very soon and love to have you back sooner than later.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate having some time to talk to you. You're very good at what you do.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I look forward to it. I'll come back anytime in the lab. There's a standing free lesson for you. That's for
sure. By the way, how long are your lessons?
Typical lessons an hour, like a starting lesson. But if they're playing lessons, they can be a little longer.
Okay. We're going to do We're going to do a playing lessons as long as you get the the beverage cart out there enough times.
I'm good with that. We'll do that.
I love it. Anyway, again, thank you, Kelly. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dennis.
Bye-bye. All right, Kelly Stenzel, everybody. Just an awesome lady and still a good player and very, very good. She's got a myriad of awards for her teaching abilities. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I've been your host, Dennis Silvers. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we're going to see you back same place, same time next week. So keep it in the short stuff, everybody. So long.